Welcome to GPVWC. Superlights is live from Portimao in the Algarve in Portugal. Today this is round 4 of the championship. Going to run 54 laps. We've already completed the qualifying session, and we'll update you on how that went in a couple of seconds. Joining me today is Menno on the commentary in the commentary box, and so Tom Stevens is the broadcast director, and congratulations, Tom, and I hope that everyone in the YouTube chat will echo that well. Anyway, qualifying earlier was a position, yes, a successful Maguire. So Maguire took pole in the THR car, but only just over Jack Breakfast and Shimon Frelick both were within 1/10 of a second of the Maguire car. So we have a real battle in store for us today. Klont is 4th place, the young driver racing for Camerawork usually races in FS1, the Formula Sprint Series, although he is at Superlights today and doing a really good job so far. The previous championship leader, Lucas Pickers, returns for today, has a little bit of ground to make up. Chris Butcher is P6 in qualifying, and Salim Singh, about the upgrade system and about why this runs upgrades in the championship. Would you like to reiterate that?
Yeah, I will try my best. By the way, hello everybody who's watching the stream. Yeah, well, it's the 4th round of the championship here in Portimao, Portugal, and because we had some issues with the upgrades, we didn't have, or the Superlight teams didn't have upgrades for Bahrain and not for Australia. So the teams now got the opportunity not to bring 1 round of upgrades, but 2 rounds of upgrades for this 4th round in the championship. And this means that I think performance-wise, this will be the biggest jump from the first 3 rounds non-upgraded car now to a car that I think is at least 0.3 to 0.5 seconds a lap quicker. I'm not sure, maybe the team bosses will not agree with me on the percentage that the cars are actually quicker, but yeah, you can develop loads of different areas. At an upgrade, you can upgrade 2 parts at the same time, or depending what your strategy is. So what I saw is that all the teams in lights did place upgrades, which makes it very interesting. But I think more or less all the teams will be more or less still on the same pace. But yeah, it because they brought upgrades. Maybe the car is a bit easier to drive now, or maybe more suited to some driving style. That's something we will find out in the race we have today. So I believe we've got 54 laps today on this track, and yeah, I'm looking forward. GPVWC didn't race here for quite a while. I mean, we were here with the Academy Series, I believe 2 years ago. We were there this year. Actually, yesterday we had a race in the Academy Series, but I believe the career ladder was here in 2015, and yeah, now in 2022 we are back. So Caitlin, I'm not sure what you think about this track, but I think this is not a well-known track for most of the guys. So it's not like Spa, Silverstone, let's say Australia, Bahrain, which you do every time, every year. You practice loads of laps. You don't have that here, and that makes it very, very interesting, because you will see on all boards today. The track is really flowy, but also you've got a lot of elevation changes, which makes it very interesting and very demanding. There are also quite a few blind corners, so yeah, I'm looking forward to race as always.
Thank you, Menno. Yes, it's very true. Tom, I don't know if you got my message just then, but apparently we are really, really quiet as commentators, especially compared to the cars. So if you could turn us up somehow, or maybe turn the cars down, that would be very much appreciated. Okay, thank you very much. Right, so yes, this circuit is very difficult actually. That's what I think about this. It's one that I like. I got my first Academy podium here actually a couple of years ago when we raced. It was 2020. We raced here in Academy last, and it's good to see it back on the main Super League and career ladder calendars. It is so tricky though. It really, really is. There's so many kind of sudden elevation changes, crests, curbs. Some of them during corners, during braking zones, and the car just wants to lose control every single time. There are so many points on the circuit where you can lose control and have a spin. We are now just about to go to the start of the race, so I'll just finish my point quickly. I was actually going to say, I think this is probably the most difficult circuit from a technical point of view. Obviously, not quite as difficult as, say, Monaco or whatever. You're much more likely to have an accident at Monaco or Azerbaijan, but literally only because the walls are closer to the track. From a technical point of view, I would say that this is the toughest. And if the walls were right next to the track, as they are at, say, Monaco, I would actually say that this would be the accident black spot of all accident black spots of race circuits. I don't know what you think about that, Menno, but this is definitely a technical circuit.
It's a very technical circuit, but also a very flowing circuit, which makes it very interesting and very difficult to follow with dirty air. So it will be a challenge for the drivers, but that's I guess what we want. We want to simulate how real racing is, and I think this is a circuit where you will see it and more.
Okie dokie, let's get away for the formation lap. We will show you the full grid order. And pay attention to this, we know you missed qualifying. Luke Maguire is P1 alongside Jan Grankvist, who was almost as quick as him in qualifying. It was so close. Shimon Frelick behind, also extremely close. And then Moritz Kropp in 4th place. Lewis Bickers is P5, trying to gain ground after missing the last round. And then it's Chris Butcher in P6, Sandeep Singh P7, and Jakub Lalu P8. Michael Ayres is P9 alongside Olivier Karikian and Olivier Oliver. Giuseppe Saracino and then David Wasserman. Patrick Rojak will be going off on 13th on the grid there alongside Christian Pascal. And then Pascal Pollens and Mark White, P16 there in the Black Hawk racing car. P17 will be Pascal Schmidt. And then it's Maxi Geisinger, Dylan Platt, and Mateusz Gajowski rounding out the top 20. Remember the top 15 score points, and that's where they will all be aiming. Lago Pume P21, then Francesco Bioni, Tom Vandervoort, and then Willis. And then rounding out the grid in 25th position will be Fabian Schill onto the grid. A couple more points to quickly mention as Menno disappears for some weird reason. You can see there the tyres. We've got Giuseppe Saracino, the top driver, on the medium tyres, and David Wasserman, the top on the hards. Everyone in the top 10 will be starting on softs, and I feel like the top 10 will be the more open to flexible strategies in this, because those soft tyres are probably not the ideal ones to start on. Finally, we've recently been having a few server issues, such as in the Formula Sprint 1 race, and we know that a lot of other R-Factor 2 leagues have been having the same server issues, but we did run the Academy race with no issues the other day, and we should be good to go for the full 54 laps, although we would ask you, if you're superstitious or religious or whatever, please pray, keep your fingers crossed. We do want to go this full 54 laps with no problems. Rightio, onto the grid we go. The Black Hawk racing car of Fabian Schiertzig rounding out the grid, and we will be ready to go as soon as those lights go out. Luke Maguire and Jan Granqvist on the front row of the grid, slightly spooky behind, but the race gets underway. Luke Maguire leads us down into turn 1, moves across to cover off Jan Granqvist, and to the outside goes Shimon Frelich. Right round the outside, bumps wheels, and runs slightly off the road. Now into turn 2, Frelich does get second position. No, Tom, yours is really far behind. I don't know why the stream's doing that. But anyway, now you're going to be able to see what I was just talking about, as we try to figure out why there's such a discrepancy between what I'm seeing and what the stream is seeing. Luke Maguire leading the race, going down the back straight ahead of Shimon Frelich and Jan Granqvist. They're actually slightly further around the lap by now, but they are still in the same order, and it looks to have been a relatively clean start by the looks of things, which is always good to see, especially after the starting pile-ups we saw last time out. As they come through and slightly off the road there in the background, Ben Willis is the first driver to go for a bit of an excursion, but he makes it through okay. And as they come towards the end of the lap, Menno still Maguire leading and building out a gap.
Yeah, what I noticed is that Shimon Frelich, who's now in P2, he was smoking on the line, and it was for quite a while, and that's a bit of a worry, because if you are smoking on the grid too long, the engine percentage will go down, and it might not affect them now, but maybe at the end of the race it will give a bit of an issue. So hopefully he didn't lose too much on that engine, and actually Simon Frelich looks quite good with following Luke Maguire, so I guess they are just settling in just to get the DRS when it's available at the beginning of lap 3. I think we had quite a clean start, and I'm very proud to see that. I believe I saw Patrick Rosak and Mark Veit going side by side into sector 2 the first lap, and they had a decent fight, and Patrick Rosak now is ahead of Mark Veit, who is still in the points. And then I believe, we had Ben Willens, who I believe is off again, who's got a bit of problems, and also a bit of, looks like the car is not in balance, at least not like how Ben Willens wants to. So he is the first one to be in a bit of behind, and it's not much better for his teammate Tom van der Voort, because he is in P24. But after 2 laps, it is Luke Maguire, Simon Frelich, and championship leader Jan Granqvist now in P3, with Lewis Bickers now in P4, with Chris Butcher rounding out the top 5.
And we are now in real time, so thanks for sorting that out, Tom. And there you see Mateusz Gazowski scrapping with Maxi Geisinger over 21st position, so a little way out of the points, but we are still very early in the race, and that could turn into a battle of points later on. Indeed, it was a clean first lap. There were a couple of drivers who had tiny little bits of contact, tiny little runs off the road, but all of them made it through the first lap okay. No one has been into the pits. It is unfortunately the two Drake cars lagging behind at this point in the race, but like I said, still extremely early on. Luke Maguire leads us around, Shimon Frelich is second, Jan Grankvist is third, and if you're wondering how that relates to the championship, it's actually quite similar to what we've been seeing throughout this year so far. Grankvist, of course, is leading the championship by 2 points after the first couple of rounds, followed by Frelich. So what you're seeing here in second and third is a fight for the championship lead, basically. And Lewis Bickers isn't that far behind them either. He's third in the championship, but was leading before he took that round off. Dylan Platt is not having the greatest of races so far. He is down in 17th position, and that is a shame for the driver who won the last race unexpectedly at the Australian round of the championship, but that would be a bit more in line with his results earlier in the season, actually. So obviously just really likes the Australian Grand Prix circuit for some reason. Luke Maguire, who's leading this race so far, he's 7th in the championship because he had to miss a round, and then of course also had a DNF at Australia last time out, but he's gaining points back here as well, as he runs, or at least he would be if they were to finish like this. Still extremely early though. That's just what you have to look out for throughout the course of the day. So on lap 3, DRS is going to be open. We're on lap 4 actually, and DRS is going to be open as they go down the start-finish straight this time around, as it would have been at the end of the last lap as well, Menno.
Yeah, but you don't want to risk it that much. Only if you've got a good, an early overtake on the start-finish straight, you want to go for it. Because, the first corner is quite tricky to at least get it 100% right. And if you, use DRS and you want to outbrake your rival into turn 1, what it also does is it creates more load on your tires and, potentially more wear. So if possible you want to pass as early as you can with DRS on the straight, but yeah, of course we will see people who try, but I think at this time of the race, I think drivers are trying to just follow the rival and just try to get the tires on a good working temperature, but also like with the least amount of wear, because at halfway point then it will be interesting who pitted, who didn't pit. So it's all about the waiting game now. You want to go as fast as possible with using not too much percentage of your tires.
If you're wondering about the battle of the alternate strategies, Giuseppe Saracino is still the top driver on medium tyres. He is in P11 in this race, which is where he started, and David Wasserman is still P12 as well, the top driver on hards, and that is where he started, and he's holding up Patrick Rojak a bit and a whole train of cars, which should theoretically be faster. Rojak is actually going for a move here, and he passes David Wasserman down into turn 1, and that's for P12. Doesn't look hugely important at this point in time, but it may well be, especially in Patrick Rojak's race. He now has to set after Giuseppe Saracino, still the top driver on those medium compound of tyres. Tyres are going to be a big talking point today, because as I was discussing with Menno and Tom before the start of this broadcast, this is a track with relatively high tyre wear. I mean, in the FS2 races, I believe I finished race 1 in particular with less tyre wear on the front left, or with less tyre life on the front left than I'd had at any of the other races in this championship prior. But even so, it may cost you enough time to justify going for a one-stop strategy. The pitting may cost you enough time, that is, because it's a very fast pit straight here, and quite a long one as well. Jan Grankvist now has the overspeed on Shimon Frelick takes a look to the outside. You need to be careful of the curb there. It was catching out FS1 and FS2 cars, and Jan Grankvist has to back out of that in the end. Luckily keeps off the really bumpy, nasty part of the curb, but he is clearly trying to get the overspeed and get the move on Shimon Frelick. And Frelick now actually not that far behind Luke Maguire. He gained a little on that last lap of the race. The top three, the top four, still right together, and the DRS zone the DRS range actually goes all the way back to P6. Moritz Kropp still has DRS from Chris Butcher, although he's in danger of losing it if he's not careful. And then you have a gap back to Michael Ayres in 7th position. Yeah. Right up in front, Grankvist on the back of Frelick, and Frelick on the back of our race leader, Menno.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that you see the top 6 guys are now in the one big DRS train. So yeah, it's very interesting to see. But I'm surprised that Michael Ayres can't follow, because now he will lose a lot of time because he doesn't have the DRS. So that's a big surprise for me. But the top 6 now is away. But the question is, can Moritz Kropp stay on this group, because he seems to be breaking as well out of the DRS group? Maybe he stays in it. But yeah, 6 cars from, I believe, 4 different teams are now in the top 6. So very interesting. Also, upgrade wise, because I don't have it in front of me what areas they upgraded, but yeah, it's interesting to see how all those cars are working. It's also very interesting to see that Jan Grankvist and Simon Frelick already went for racing, so they want track position, which is quite interesting. You see, I think Lewis Bickers, Chris Butcher, and Moritz Kropp. You see them a bit like, how you say it, nice, chilling behind, just save the tires, just follow, stay in the group, and when a bit later in the race, can be 5 laps later, can be 10 laps later, if you have enough tires left, then you want to make your move. It's like a game of chess, Caitlin. It's when will you play, and when you think it's wise to play. So we're still at the beginning phase, and pace is good, but not I think super high at the front, but yeah.
Indeed. So Shimon Frelick is still holding off Jan Grankvist this last time around. This is definitely a circuit where you can overtake, but Shimon is not going to make it easy for Jan behind him. If you saw the yellow flag just now and were wondering what that was, as Moritz...
Yeah, he nearly lost it, breaking into what is it? Turn
4 there. Turn 4 is
there, and
turn 5, I believe it is on the official map, because there's a silly little kink that counts.
And this will hurt his chances, because now he will be out of DRS, and well, that will not be would have not been well for his front tires. So actually now he needs to drive really fast and use a lot of his push to pass system to get back in the DRS group, because I think Moritz Kropp knows, if I'm out DRS, well, you have maybe 1 lap to get back in it, but otherwise, if you're outside the DRS window, then it's difficult to get back into. So was this the problem Moritz shouldn't have done? He's half a second slower than Chris Butcher, so he lost half a second with that moment. Can he get back into the group? So we will watch that.
That's why we call it the DRS train. The carriages, oh my goodness, as we almost go 3 wide down into turn 1, the carriages have a much easier time than the lead car, a lot less buffeting, because they're simply not having to push the air out of the way. It's in the corners where they start to struggle a little, but even so, it's the straights where you make the overtakes. Anyway, just to finish the point that I was saying just a little while ago, the yellow flag that was briefly shown on screen was as a result of Ben Willis losing his front wing. He is having a dreadful day. He was running last anyway, and now he is the first car to drop off the lead lap of the race. So Drake and Ben Willis suffering here at Portimao. 10 laps of the race are now very nearly complete. Luke Maguire about to complete the 10th lap of the race, and my goodness, has that flown by. Pit stops will still be a little way off, especially if they are going for one stops, as Tom and Menno have suggested. But you have to keep your mind open in races like this, because people may start to do bold strategy calls any minute now. Michael Ayres, yes, has got Moritz Kropp down into turn 1. He goes up to P6, and that is a move that has been successfully stuck. So Michael Ayres goes up, Moritz Kropp goes down.
Yeah, and very interesting. I'm looking at the lap times. We saw Michael Ayres. Well, he did miss the first group when they were in the DRS train. He missed the DRS train group. But now, if I look at the lap times, he is at as fast as the leaders. So that makes it very interesting. I believe he's now around 5 to 6 seconds behind the leader. And yeah, what can he do? Can he drive back to the group, Michael Ayres? Is that the one that I personally would have thought, well, surprisingly he cannot go with the faster guys, but now he's matching them in pace. Caitlin, what do you think? Let me ask it for you, what you think. If I know Mike Ayres a bit, maybe he just preserved the tires a bit and is actually waiting for the second phase of this stint to at least, up his pace.
I mean, it's hard to tell right now because, sorry, Granqvist going to the outside of Simon Frelick down into turn 1. They touch slightly, very slightly, but Jan goes around the outside and makes it stick, and Moritz Kropp is in the pits. That's interesting. So Kropp going for a very different strategy to what we were expecting. Oliver Perikian, I don't know why I think he's French, follows him into the pits as well. That's bizarre, but keep your eyes on that because we've seen bizarre strategies work out very well in this series in the past. Granqvist makes a slight mistake, goes a little wide, and Shimon is right on his tail once again, but this isn't normally a point on the circuit where you can overtake. Now Jan's got to get back in the groove and see if he can hunt Luke Maguire, who is literally right there. It's like dangling a carrot in front of a horse's face. He sees the prize, and ahead of Luke Maguire, he knows there is just clean air and the lead of the race. Yeah, so that's... Sorry, yes, Menno, we've got... So Moritz has actually come out on hard tyres, full hard tyres. I don't think there's any way that he's going to be able to go to the end of the race, even on those. They are really good, apparently. Tom's saying they're really good, so maybe, of course, the tyres a step or two harder than they have been in
We've got a fight for the lead now. It's Jan Granqvist going for the lead. Yeah, he will get it. Going around the outside, and he takes the lead. Jan Granqvist goes to the lead, unless Luke Maguire can battle him, but he can't. Oh, and Simon Frelick actually already is like quite a bit behind, but now he can catch up. So it's Jan Granqvist in the lead. Are his tires now better than Luke Maguire? Or what is the strategy? You don't know what the strategy is. What does Luke have left? Will he just strike back the next lap? It's
Luke went all over the curb behind Jan Granqvist, trying to get the place back, almost in denial that he just lost it. Oh, big twitch over the crest of the hill. That's one corner you have to be so careful about because you're accelerating while going over a crest, and I can't think of anything that these cars like less. There's another corner which is exactly the same, really, slightly less of a dramatic crest, but you have a double apex there which provides its own challenge. You want to hit the secondary apex.
Yeah, what I want to say is we are talking about the first DRS group, the DRS train group. We also got a second group, which is led by Patrick Rozak. Then we've got David Wasserman, Mark Veit, Christian Pascal.
So Luke Maguire comes into the pits. It is not looking like we got the strategy right whatsoever, but keep your eyes on Luke Maguire. Also, does this promote Jan Granqvist and Simon Frelick, or do they they now think, well, you know, the others are doing it, we've got to cover that off somehow. Of course, they'll be in two minds, because also if they were intending to go much further and deeper into this race and then go onto a harder set of tyres, they may still decide to do that, especially if it is theoretically the best way of racing. As Pascal Pollens there there's contact, and around goes Mark Veit, not Mark Veit, that's Christian Pascal, who gets involved, and they touch once again and again and again, and they both fly off the road, Pascal and Pollens, in a slightly clumsy bit of driving.
Yeah, I believe that was also caused maybe by a hiccup from Air Factor itself, because I saw a freeze just before the incident, so hopefully we'll hear about that later. Yeah, Luke McGuire comes out in P13, and yeah, he will have a bit of traffic, so it doesn't look that good. I expected Luke McGuire, one of the tires, to do longer stints.
So Grankvist coming into the pits. I'm very much convinced that this is a two-stop race at this point. Jan about to stop in his box and go on to, I mean, if the others are anything to go by, the harder compound of tyre. Briefly saw another yellow flag there, so we'll keep my eye out. Look at that! Very close in the pits between Michael Ayres and Jan Grankvist. Ayres does manage to get into his pits in the end, but they're all slightly held up there. Jan X in the pits now. Dylan Platt stays out and goes through, and Grankvist rejoins just behind him. Oh my goodness! And that was so close with Luke McGuire. I was looking to see where McGuire was, and he's come out just behind Jan Grankvist.
Yeah, Luke will have the momentum. I'm pretty sure. Oh, and he's got the momentum. He nearly lost it there. He knew this was the chance to attack with a DRS zone there, but yeah, Jan Grankvist is now ahead, and now they got traffic, and now this will play out for everybody who's now who didn't pit, because traffic will slow the guys down who are on fresher tires. Maybe it's two compounds harder, but you've got much more grip, so it is very interesting. But with the traffic they now have, they need to pass it, and the other guys are allowed to fight as hard as they want. Well, you were the race leader, yeah, nice, but I made my own race. So it's very interesting. And look at those guys from Royal Blue Go and Chris Butcher. They're going for the long strategy, and maybe that's the better option. So.
And here comes Luke McGuire now. Sorry, Jan Grankvist and Luke McGuire. Three wide on the straight with Dylan Platt. McGuire is on the outside now, and Jan, and they've both cleared Dylan, and a big twitch from both of them. They save it down into turn 2, and they're going to touch again, and off the road almost goes Grankvist, and McGuire goes through, and that was very rough and tumble there from both of them. McGuire moves over to the left. Is that to defend, or is it to give the place back? It looks as if Luke believes he's got the move fair and square, and he keeps that position, which may turn out to be the fight for the lead of the race. Currently it's Royal Blue first and second, being chased hard by Luke's teammate Chris Butcher, but whatever the case, that's going to be a controversial one. What do you think of that, Menno?
Yeah, definitely. I think Maguire touched him with the overtake. Of course, he could complain that he was close to the door and they touched because the door was closed. But let's see what will happen in the team itself. Will Luke give it back?
Moritz is out of the race. Moritz Kropp has become our first retirement. And that's tragic because he was doing so well and so...
Frelick and Butcher in?
Yes!
Where will they come out? Because maybe they won't time because of the traffic.
Yes, so here comes Luke McGuire being slipstreamed by Jan Grankvist, who tries to have a payback for the lap before, and he flies past him in a straight line, and they're both going to come out ahead of Shimon Frelick. So Grankvist through, McGuire is just behind him, and they get through the next corner a little cleaner than they did before, and ahead of Shimon Frelick and Chris Butcher now, who is in turn behind Shimon Frelick. And that means that, sorry, I was distracted because I've just been looking at Moritz Krop's retirement, it looks as if he just pulled off to the side of the road and stopped. So I don't know why that was, but yeah, big shame for him. He did so well in qualifying.
Could be a hardware issue or anything. We might be able to ask him later. So yeah, it's now Grankvist in 7th, Maguire in 8th. But yeah, they still got drivers in front, which they need to pass, and that will.
Becker's into the pits too. Sorry. So this is another driver. He came in just behind Shimon Frelich and ahead of Chris Butcher, but there's now basically no difference between those two cars. And Rojak's had a spin or something on track, because Drojak is suddenly going very slowly and getting back up to speed. He's dropped to 11th now. Now, as I was saying, there's very little gap between Frelich and Butcher that Bickers could come out in. Look at Luke Maguire once again for the 3rd lap in a row. They're going to go side by side down the start-finish straight. They pass Bickers, who exits the pits. Maguire gets through into what is currently 5th position, may turn out to be the lead, and Butcher has jumped Bickers. So Butcher is ahead of Bickers now, and Rojak loses out as well, partly as a result of his spin a little while earlier, but he still needs to pit as well. Sandeep Singh temporarily leads the race, but Luke Maguire and Jan Grankvist, this battle that you're watching is the battle of the race so far. There's been controversial moments in it, there's been plenty of overtakes, and currently it's Maguire ahead of Grankvist, but will that last, Menno?
Yeah, well, I think it will not last, at least for the whole race. At least I think we will see a lot of changes. And what do I see? Yeah, Simon Frelich will catch up to the guys in front. So, oh, and what happens to Grankvist? Problem for Grankvist! Grankvist has an issue. He's slowing down. He's the championship leader. What is this? Is this also a hardware issue? This is the championship leader. Drama for Jan Grankvist. And he's driving again. What was that?
He's trying to continue. Now it looked like a deliberate slowing down. He's still on the throttle, and off again goes. Well, that's Pascal Pollens there that went off. Grankvist is back up to full throttle. So whatever happened, it was intermittent. Maybe something. I don't know. Maybe he needed to tighten a clamp or something like that. I'm being updated as well by David Fidok that Moritz's issue that put him out of the race was that his table clamp has fallen off or broken. So an issue for Moritz Krop, which was hardware related, something to do with the table clamp that attaches to his wheel, has come off, and maybe it was a similar thing for Grankvist, but he's been able to reattach it while also continuing in the race. Lally there very nearly had a touch with Christian Pascal. But yeah, some real drama there, and unfortunately, we don't know what it was.
Okay, and I hear that the problem that Jan Grankvist had is that his pedal was stuck. So he had a stuck pedal. So let's see if this problem gets back. This is already been wounded car at the moment. Wounded at least yeah. Well, he lost a lot, Caitlin, and that's
he did. Plenty of positions. And that puts a real dampener on the battle with Luke Maguire. Sandeep Singh now into the pits, so Giuseppe Saracino will lead the race. Maguire goes for a move on Mark Veit down into turn 1, and that was vital, pun not intended, for Luke's race. Singh's going to come out outside of the top 10 now as Grankvist manages to get a place back on Fabian Schitzik there. So Saracino leads, and Wasserman second is also yet to stop. These two have been the leaders of the alternate strategy for pretty much the whole race so far, and they could well still go for a one stop at this race, because we're almost now, I don't know about almost, but we're getting relatively close to the halfway point in this race. Just 7 more laps to go until then, and the gap for the lead 9 seconds currently. Luke Maguire is catching Wasserman hand over fist. And realistically, I think the order is going to end up being Maguire, Frelich, and Butcher first, second, and third. And crucially in that as well, all of them have traffic, and Butcher has DRS from Shimon Frelich up ahead. So it looks as if there's a fight for second emerging. Lewis Bickers right there as well, who was ahead of Chris Butcher not too long ago. And as the race continues, those are your stories to look out for, I'd say.
Yeah, and look at Lewis Bickers. He pitted a few laps later than Luke Maguire, so let's see if he can preserve the tires, and maybe he will have something left at the end. So keep an eye on Lewis Bickers. Also, what I noticed is we had Michael Ayres, who is now in P23, so I'm not sure what happened there. It should be
big slide from Frelick as he gets a place up on Mark Veit, but he runs wide. Veit comes back through on the inside. Frelick losing time, and Chris Butcher getting closer, and Frelick backs out as Mark Veit shuts the door into the tricky turns 6 and 7. Over the crest of the hill they go. Butcher is going to be right there as they come into the DRS zone, and so is Lewis Bickers.
And Mark Veit is making life very difficult for Simon Frelick, but he is allowed to. He is driving in P4. I didn't pit, but it doesn't mean he just needed to let him go, and he is actually enjoying this and fighting now with Simon Frelick. So I think now DRS will come into play, but maybe Chris Butcher can do a double overtake. Look at the line Chris Butcher takes, another line, goes now for Frelick. Well, Mike Veit pits. Can Butcher take the double? He's going for the inside for Frelick. Chris Butcher is there, but now it goes for turn 1. Who has got the better inside driving point? Oh, they touch. No, they don't. And Simon Frelick stays ahead. Now in P4 with Chris Butcher in P5. Wonderful racing and wonderful spatial awareness.
Incredible defensive move around the outside from Simon Frelick. That reminded me, as they were banging wheels down the straight, of an Alpine Cup race that happened here a few years ago, where there was a huge crash in real life down into the wall on the outside there, and somehow they avoided the same fate, despite being an open wheel machinery that could very easily tangle and lock together.
Spring from Hygo Poom in P17. He is off after I think that was turn 3 or turn 4 where he spun, and he loses a lot of...
Ayres is out. Ayres is out of the race. He was running 6th earlier on and made his pit stop, and now he's out of the race. He's actually recovered to the pits to retire, so something has gone very dramatically wrong there for Michael Ayres, and his race is over.
We've got the leader also in. I think it's logical for Ayres to stop the race, because he was not in a point scoring position.
Correct. Maguire takes the lead there down the straight, because Saracino pitted and Wasserman there is still running second, but Luke Maguire has got through. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I think it was logical for Michael Ayres to stop the car and save the engine, because he was quite way down, and points were not super likely. So I know he wants to save the machinery for the next round, but it's a shame for Michael Ayres. I expected more from him here, but maybe a bit unlucky. Lucky racing here, and let's see what
must have gone wrong. Something must have gone wrong off screen though, because he shouldn't have been that far down. He certainly wasn't last time we saw him. But whatever the case, he is now. So, he's out of the race now. Shame for Michael Ayres. 23 cars remaining. What's the ooh?
Yeah, Christian Pascal had quite a long stop. I expected him to be driving away a bit faster, but it took a while. And now he is still a lap ahead of Ben Willis, who is in P23. So we now got 2 retirements in Crop and Ayres, and Luke Maguire leads the race.
Indeed, so Maguire leads by a second over Wasserman, who's yet to stop. Yellow flag briefly, I'm going to check through, and it's Ben Willis, who's been having an awful day, and he's ended his awful day. Looks as if he may also have retired just by pulling over, or he actually hit the wall, so he's lost his front wing for the second time, and obviously decided to call it a day there. And honestly, I don't blame him, because at that point, I mean, what's really the point in continuing? You want to save your engine and save your components, which can carry over to future races. So we're on board with Lewis Bickers now, chasing down Chris Butcher for 4th position in this race, which may end up being a fight for the podium later on, depending on how the strategic race goes. We have 30 laps of this race remaining, so we're not quite half of the way through yet, but we're nearing that stage. And as the fuel gets lower and lower, the cars are getting lighter and lighter, and in the future will probably be even faster, especially if they do go for a two-stop strategy, which isn't confirmed, of course. Jan Granqvist is still the only car to settle up under 1:19. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I've been saying that I expect it to be a two-stop race. That's only for some of these cars. One thing that we've been seeing time and time again in this series is drivers really surprising us with their super long second stints, and sometimes you get cars coming out of absolutely nowhere and winning races because of their strategy, because of how they're able to keep the car out for so long. That's what happened last time out with Dylan Platt. That's what happened in Saracino down the inside there, running right off into the gravel. He's going to slide that around. Giuseppe Saracino made a porridge of that as he tried to pass Pascal Pollens for P12, and he's now down into P14 behind Oliver Perikian. I'm still convinced that he's French, and he very much isn't.
We should ask him if he's French. Maybe he doesn't mind if you call him Olivier.
Yeah, I hope not, because, look at this, Hygo Poom and Patrick Rojak still fighting for positions. Yeah, I hope not, because for some reason I can't stop. It reminds me of a few years ago, where I couldn't say Oliver Ellis Richardson. I had to say Oliver Ollis Richardson, and that was really, really annoying, because it happened every time as Hygo Poom gets a switch back.
We've got Rozak and Poom, and actually Rozak hit the back of Hygo Poom a lap ago. Not too hard, but it was just like they're fighting really hard, and now Patrick Rozak seems to have more pace. Keep in mind that Hygo Poom already spun, so I'm not sure how his steering wheel now currently feels, but maybe with all the force feedback, it's not the nicest wheel to have in your hands at the moment. So Hygo Poom now in P17. That's I think something he would not like to see. He wants to stay in the points, but for now, for Hygo it's not on the cards. Well, we've got Pascal Pollens in the pits, so actually Hygo gets a point over, gets P16 though.
We've just seen a good move from Shimon Frelick up to P2, and now Chris Butcher up to P3. From David Wasserman, who's still yet to stop and locks up on his old and hard tyres. Lewis Bickers now all over his tail. Granqvist, meanwhile, is catching this bunch, so keep your eye out for him. His race is definitely not over yet, despite the issue that we saw earlier on. Bickers now needs to line the car up, and could probably have got a bit of a better run on David Wasserman down there, but it won't really matter that much because he has the DRS and he has the place, and now he sets off after Chris Butcher.
Dylan Platt is off. Dylan Platt is off. And
yes, and he's out. And that was in the gravel on the exit of the final corner. He may have lost it midway through the corner and just ended up there. But yes, Dylan Platt is out of this race. And that looks like a hardware failure, actually. I've just looked at it back, and suddenly everything snapped to the left. His steering snapped to the left. His brakes snapped fully on. And that is usually indicative of a wheel failure or something along those lines.
He was still in a points scoring position, so he will never press escape unless you can. Unless you need to, unless you're in an unsafe position and you can change it, you will not press escape. So is this another failure? Let's ask what happened there.
A lot of hardware failures today, if that is indeed what happened to Jan Granqvist. We had it confirmed by a reliable source that Moritz Kropp's issue was hardware related, and of course all of these drivers are running completely different hardware. They've all got this hardware attached to their own computers at home, and none of these failures are linked. But anyway, sometimes you do get days like this where luck just seems to escape every single driver out there. Chris Butcher, meanwhile, is still within DRS range of Shimon Frelick. But as I was going to say before, the trouble that these drivers have, that Butcher and Bickers have in particular, is that there's now no more traffic for a little while ahead of Shimon Frelick. well, I say that actually there is someone a little way up the road. Oh no, that's just Luke Maguire. Never mind. There's 3 seconds between the leaders at this point in the race, but it does mean that Butcher and Bickers have a little while to wait before Frelick gets held up again. And in the meantime, they won't want to wait. They'll have to put the power down and try it themselves to get that gap down and to make those positions. There's Hygo Poom once again in what is now a fight for the final points paying position there, along with Mateusz Gazowski, Patrick Rojak a little way up the road. That's who Hygo was fighting with before. Now, out of the final corner go Frelick and Butcher. Butcher is going to be a little...
The question I have, when will David Wasserman pit? When will he pit? Because I believe he already started the race on this tire, and he now did 28 laps already. And the pace isn't amazing, but it's also not bad. So.
It's very true. It's very Alex Albon-like, isn't it?
Yes.
And David Wasserman is clearly going for the one-stop strategy that we expected more drivers to employ at the start of this race. But the others decided to surprise us. They may still surprise us again yet. Jan Granqvist goes down the inside, makes up that position as was expected. Granqvist, the fastest driver on the track right now, passing David Wasserman, who is on old and hard tyres, and so had absolutely nothing to say to him there. But that's okay. These two drivers running very different races at this point in time. They don't really need to be contesting with each other. I'm just looking around as well to see what else is going on further down the order. Poom appears to have just made a little... no, he didn't make a mistake, sorry. They actually swapped positions. Pascal Schmidt got through in the other TTF racing car. And then again, Pascal Pollins is also ahead now, so maybe Poom did make a mistake. Those are... That's still the fight for... Well, it was for 15th, but there's now a bit of a gap between Gazowski and Pollens there. Back to the relative head of the field. Jan Granqvist still running in 5th position. The championship leader finished 8th in the first race, finished 1st in the second, and then 5th in Australia. And I mean, it's relatively consistent. He'll need to be a little more consistent than that if he's going to win this championship, but it's a good start nonetheless. Sorry, Menno?
I've got an update on why Dylan Platt retired.
Go for it.
And that was a wheel failure.
Yeah, so...
his steering wheel turned off. And yeah, then I think when it turns off, I'm not sure what kind of equipment you use, but when it turns off and you turn it on, it sometimes doesn't work like it should when you restart it, or it doesn't calibrate well when it automatically, or when it turned off before. So yeah, I think he knew there was no saving, and that's why he pressed escape quite early when he still was in the points. But yeah, that shows that sometimes those things happen, but it also shows that with Dylan now, now he was not in a winning position, and now it happened. So I think he can live with it, because he still has got the result of 2 weeks ago. But that shows that you can do everything well, but it's always a bit of like electronics. There are so many factors there for doing well. Look at Jan Granqvist, who now is the fastest on the track, but isn't not in the top 3 positions like you would expect somebody who's fastest on the track. So a load of factors come into play, and we saw that with Krop, we saw that with Platt, and we saw that with who was it? Ayers?
Jan Granqvist had a brief...
Granqvist, sorry,
Had a brief slow, but carried on, of course. So Dylan Platt there. Of course, all of these hardware failures completely unrelated. But yeah, it was clearly a full wheel failure. Because
overtake for P2. I think Chris Butcher is going for Simon Frelick.
Yes.
And there we go, he will go around the outside, has got much more momentum and goes for P2, and he makes it in P2. Will he make the corner? Yes, he does. So now Simon Frelick is in P3, but there is another DRS zone. What can Simon Frelick do? Will he get back to Chris Butcher? Will open DRS now? No, this straight is not long enough for attack back, and now it's Simon Frelick in P3 and Chris Butcher in P2. And look at Chris Butcher, he is now running away. He wants to be as far as away from Simon Frelick before the next DRS zone, but can he get away? I don't think so.
And to the delight of our cameraman, THR are now first and second in this race. Luke Maguire leads, Chris Butcher is second, Simon Frelick down to third. It's THR, Royal Blue as we stand, and the race continues. We're now just over the halfway point. Lewis Bickers, fourth place, Simon Frelick third, then it's Jan Grankvist fifth, David Wasserman, Jakob Egalalu, Sandeep Singh, Fabian Schiertzig and Maxi Geisinger. Wasserman still yet to pit there in that sixth position, running very long into this race, but we expected him to after he started on the full hard set of tyres. Frelick still close to Chris Butcher, but not close enough, and the place did change. There is a second DRS zone, but that second DRS zone doesn't normally tend to be an overtaking opportunity when you get cars that are this fast. The straight and the braking zone just aren't long enough, especially with that banked hairpin as you see it down there at turn 5. So that's the order at this point in the race. In terms of lap times as well, Butcher and Frelick lapping very similarly to Luke Maguire out in the lead of this race, but faster, crucially, than some of the other drivers who may have challenged them later on in this race. It's looking like we have a true order developing. Now I guess the question is whether there's going to be a second pit window or not. There definitely could be, but there might also not be, because they might be leaving it out super duper long like we've seen in previous rounds and just trying to confuse us in the commentary booth. We'll see.
Yeah, I have doubts if we will see another round of pit stops, because if we will see those, to get the difference back from, like, if you pit another time to regain the time you lose from a pit stop, yeah, you need to be at least 2 seconds a lap quicker. And even on new tires, I'm not sure if that is possible. So we shall see. I think this might be just a one-stop race with loads of saving and hoping they make it at the end. While Maxi Giesinger still continues, and David Wasserman as well. So David didn't make a pit stop, right? No.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think either of the Mood Auto concept cars have just yet. So both of them going long in this race. Maxi Geisinger currently running in 10th position, despite starting right the way down the order. And we continue to look out for those two and their strategy. Their respective strategies, because they may be going slightly different in this race towards the end. But anyway, sorry, what were you going to say, Menno?
Yeah, you can go wild then at the final stint. If you, I'm not sure how long they will stretch it, but if you then got a softer tire which doesn't need to go that long, and you already got a lighter car than in the beginning, yeah, you can go wild and maybe take a bit more performance out of the tires at the beginning of the second stint, which makes it very interesting. So yeah, we shall see when David pits. He already did 35 laps. He earned my respect today. So yeah, the star of today is David, who does a very good job with his tires and with pace-wise, because he's not much slower than the guys in front. He's a bit slower, which you should expect with the amount of laps he did with those tires, but he's not like usually off the pace. It's not that he's falling off, in my opinion. So let's go.
Indeed. Ruben Machete saying Vossman can go soft for the last stint. Yes, I expect that's what he's intending to do at this point. But even if he does go the medium route, we've seen that the medium tyres work well. Machete also seems to have jinxed Dylan a little while ago, because that's Dylan Platt. Because he typed Dylan Platt is in good running for points, and then his next message and the next message in the YouTube chat was Dylan RIP in full caps, which is pretty indicative of. I mean, I say the commentator's curse. It's the commenter's curse in this case, I guess. But anyway, oh yes, and Moritz did indeed confirm himself that his table clamp fell off, and that's why he retired from the race earlier on. Just looking through the YouTube chat.
Yeah, we've got Fabian in. So from P10 he pitted, and now where will he come out? I fear that will be P14. I think. No, I think he will go actually to P16, because it's a long way until the end of the pits for Fabian. But now he's driving. Let's see. It's Rozak who passes. It's Guzowski who passes. And Poland who passes. And what about Pascal Smith, who has a very anonymous race, unfortunately. Yeah, he stays ahead. So it's Fabian Suzik in P16 and just outside the points. But with fresh tires. Well, we've got Patrick Rozak who spun. Patrick Rozak spun into turn, from turn 3. And now Fabian Suzik is now, close to that magical 1 point. So he now has got something to race for, and he's got fresh tires. Back to you, Caitlin.
Brejak was running in 14th place just now, or 13th place actually, due to the pit changes, but he's now down into 15th, so 2 places lost.
Yeah,
he's still in the points. That's
crucial. Change at the front, because Simon Frelick repassed Chris Butcher, and Jan Grekvist now passed Lewis Bickers. So that's very interesting to see. So Jan Grekvist, after that problem, he now can just see P2. Yeah, Luke Maguire has checked out and see you at the finish line, but the rest is all in reach for Jan Grekvist. And you want to win as much races as you can, but winning a title you do just be like scoring every time, and he's already in P4, and what can he do in the remainder of this race? So he had that luck, but he might get away with it because he's already P4.
I was wondering how I missed that, but actually it's because it happened so suddenly. Chris Butcher made a slight mistake, got over the curb in turn 2 and in turn 1, and dropped back behind Shimon Frelick. But it happened so suddenly. I'm not sure anyone could have really anticipated it. Grankvist in the background just did a standard slipstreaming move past Lewis Bickers, and he is now up into P4 in this race. But even more crucially, the second, third, fourth, fifth battle is all in a DRS train now. Bickers maybe just about missing out on DRS from Jan Grankvist.
Fight for P7, it's Sandeep Singh and Jukapeka Lalu. Oh, they're so close. Now Sandeep Singh can open his rear wing and has the DRS. Can he pass Jukapeka Lalu? No, he's trying. Oh, nearly hits the back of him. But no, he can't pass him now. But Sandeep is knocking on the what is it? Red Arrow's door, or rear wing, I should say. Well, he nearly knocked on the rear wing, but good fight for P7. Let's see if that continues in a few laps. So if we go back to the lead, it's Luke Maguire, who is just relaxing. It's now Simon Frelick in P2, and does he have a second on Chris Butcher? I don't think so. I think it's close, but no. But actually, I think he has, because there will not be opening of rear wing for Chris Butcher. So
that's true. Grankvist had his rear wing open, but Butcher did not quite. So Grankvist getting closer to Butcher than Butcher did to Frelick on that last lap, and that last straight in particular. Singh now does get past Lalu into turn 1. Sandeep Singh up the inside and gets through. Singh, who led 3 or 4 laps earlier on in this race, is now chasing down Wasserman, who incidentally has still not pitted. Maxi Geisinger has just come in, so that's indicative of Wasserman maybe coming in very, very soon, because his teammate in the other Mood Auto Concepts car has done so from those full hard tyres to probably, actually I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to be proved to be wrong, but it is full soft. Okay, so Geisinger goes soft and will come out of the pits in 16th, so it doesn't, 17th actually, so it doesn't quite stay in the point paying positions. David Wasserman is the one that we really have to look out for here. Onto the start finish straight once again. Butcher does get DRS from Frelick this time around. Grankvist still gets DRS from Butcher, and Wasserman finally comes into the pits.
Oh, those tires will be delighted. Finally, rest. Yeah.
Yes,
finally.
indeed.
Yeah, finally. I mean, those tires did their work, and now it's time to go wild on, I think, the soft compounds. We shall see. But where does David Wasserman come out? Is it still close to the top 10? Yeah, I think he did a mighty stint, and I think it will be P10. And yeah. Watch the line at exit, it will be P10. So it's Dave Wasserman in P10, and he will have a lot of pace advantage on Oliver Parlican, sorry. So let's see if he can catch them, because he's got 2 compound fresher tires. So we will see where David Wasserman ends up. But,
and the advantage of this is that there's not that much time left in the race, only 14 laps, and so he can really push to the end now, even compared to drivers who may have gone into soft slightly earlier and would have had to have saved. Meanwhile, I'm afraid to say that Hygo Poom has become a retirement. He's been in the wars for a lot of today, and he lost his front wing earlier in that last lap and decided to pull off and retire by the looks of things. So Hygo will not be coming away from today with any points. Wasserman, I'm so interested to see what his lap times are going to be. They might well be the quickest lap times that we'll see today.
I think David wants to have the extra point for fastest lap, so that's also the strategy. You can steal an extra point if you're the fastest and you have the fastest lap and you finished in the points position. So let's see. Fastest lap now is, I believe, 18.7 from Fabian Struzik, but I think David should be able to go a bit faster than that.
Indeed, he certainly has the tyres, the setup and the car for it, and we're on board with him right now as he starts a flying lap. This isn't a qualifying session, you'd be forgiven for thinking we just tuned into one, but whatever the case, absolutely flying. Oliver Parikyan is 4 seconds up the road now, so that's what he's got to gain in order to gain another place. But even so, a 10th place finish would not be bad whatsoever from David Wasserman, who started in 12th position in this race and has gained a little bit of ground throughout the course of today. Meanwhile, Shimon Frelick still has Chris Butcher within DRS range of him, who himself has Jan Grankvist to worry about. And they are all staying relatively close to Luke Maguire. The lap time still about the same between all of those drivers, with 12 laps remaining.
And there is David Wasserman. What time can he put in? It's a 18.1. So,
very quick.
Yeah, very quick. So that's I think 6 tenths improvement for the fastest lap. But more vital, he takes 2 seconds out of Oliver Parlican in this lap. So yeah, he will do it with big steps. So I think in 2 laps he will be on his rear wing. And if David can pass Oliver quite quick, can he then go to Giuseppe Saracino? I think he can, because we should not forget Giuseppe already spun into turn 1, so his tires will not be like how would you say it, showroom fresh?
Yes.
Yeah, and that will play a bit as well. Well, I now see.
Look at these three. They were so much closer that last time around. We're going to have to keep an eye on these three because next lap, I think it might change actually between the second, third, and fourth cars in this race. Shimon Frelick, you see in the light blue and white car. Chris Butcher, of course, is the more golden coloured one. And then Jan Grankvist is in the darker blue Super Venturi car just behind them. And the three of them are going to be fighting hard for those last podium positions towards the end of this race. And they're still not a million miles off from Luke Maguire, but Luke would need to make a mistake for them to catch up to him at this point. Down the hill they go, slightly twitchy from Chris Butcher, but that's okay. All of the cars will be during this race. And of course they're lighter now than they were earlier as well, so less force pushing them into the ground. Towards the final corner of this particular lap, it's all about lining up the car ahead of you, and I think that Grankvist is going to do it better this time around. And the gap as they cross the line is not that much. Watch this, Grankvist getting closer and closer, gets the double DRS effectively to the inside and goes through. So Jan Grankvist takes third place in this race with 10 laps to go. Great move, well done.
Textbook move from young Grankvist, who had a lot of exit speed there and used it to make a very clean pass. So yeah, what can he do? Can he go one better then, and can he get P2 from Simon Frelick? That would be something if he could. Let's see how close he can get.
And Wasserman has now caught and passed Oliver Perekian down into turn 1. Wasserman up to P9, and he has not set another fastest lap, but he's got very, very close to it. His last 3 laps have been in the 1:18s, and most of these other drivers' fastest laps overall are still in the 1:19s. Wasserman has another 4.5 seconds to gain if he's going to catch Saracino in front of him. I think he's going to do it actually, looking at the amount of time we've still got in this race and the advantage that he has over Saracino at this point in the race. He's going to catch him anyway. I don't know about passing him because that is a whole different matter, especially if his tires start to feel the pressure of being pushed this hard later on. But whatever the case, it's certainly not over yet for David Wasserman.
Yeah, but also isn't over is the fight between Jukka-Pekka Lalu and Sandy.
And who's that? Patrick Rozak.
Patrick Rozak? What happened to Patrick Rozak? Oh, he's spun
Sorry,
again?
yeah, we just saw him spin. The leaders avoided him, luckily, because he was far enough off the racing line that he didn't pose that much of an issue. But he has now gone a lap down due to that spin. We've got 17 cars remaining on the lead lap now.
Well, Jan Grankvist is on a move because I just see he's trying to close the gap as much as he can on Simon Frelick, and I think it will maybe take 1 or 2 laps until he at least goes for a move. At least he will try a move. If he can pass, we of course shall see, because in the race we already saw that Simon Frelick can defend really well and also attack really well. So I think this lap Simon Frelick is still too far away, but what can Jan Grankvist do? He will have DRS. Oh, he's got a lot of speed. Can he overtake him already here? No, he cannot do it here. No. And Chris Butcher has problems with following because he tries to stay close to Frelick and Grankvist, but he can't. With his
Frelick ran a little wide.
He will stay there.
He ran a little wide, but only backed the others up a tiny bit. Interestingly, they can still see Luke Maguire up ahead, especially as they go into the slower corners like that one. Maguire is doing everything that he needs to, but he's not dominating at this point in time. But with the second, third and fourth cars all battling, this is exactly what Luke Maguire needs in order to get away or to stay ahead of this battling quadruplet of cars behind him.
Yeah, and actually it's Lewis Bickers who can't follow the group, and actually he's quite a few seconds behind Chris Butcher now. He was in the group, but cannot do maybe on the harder set of tires, sadly. So yeah.
And watch this, Grankvist has got a very good run on Shimon Frelick out of the final corner, gets the DRS, and he's going to have it done even before the start line there. Great stuff from Jan Grankvist, who flies past Shimon Frelick, and there was absolutely nothing that the Royal Blue Racing driver could have done there to have fended off Jan Grankvist. Jan has made 2 moves in, I think, 3 laps now to take second place in this race. His gap to the lead is 3.5 seconds, so I think that's a little too much to ask, but this has been a great race from the current championship leader.
Yes, and if he finishes in P2, he will of course stay the championship leader. But yeah, of course, Simon Frelick wants to pass Jan Grankvist because he wants to be the championship leader. So they've got something to fight for, and yeah, and then we've got Luke Maguire, of course, who won the first round at Imola, but then missed the second round, the DNF'd in Australia. So yeah, with a win for Luke Maguire, let's not jinx him too much. He will be in play for the big positions, but yeah, he will not be leading by a mile, which makes it a very interesting championship. But what can Simon Frelick do? Can he? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just dropped something in the background there. Sorry if you heard that. Grankvist, meanwhile, has pulled within 3 seconds of the leader, Luke Maguire. So he is actually launching a charge right now, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race. Grankvist, very, very quick. I mean, he was the fastest of all in the first part of the race, but now he's improved his own best time by something like 4 tenths of a second, and set to 1:18.073. That might not be over yet, unless Luke Maguire can retaliate, can start to put the power down himself.
Yeah, the fastest lap now is for Jan Grankvist, so if it stays like that, then the extra point will be for Jan Grankvist, but I believe Patrick Rozak actually went for a new set of tires and steals the fastest lap away. So Patrick Rozak now in P20 has now got the fastest lap, which means the fastest lap point will not be rewarded if Patrick Rozak doesn't finish in the top 15 and the championship point scoring positions.
Rozak has probably just made a pit stop, I'd say, because he's on. Yes, he has, because he's on these soft tires. He was running a lap down. I mean, he still is running a lap down, but obviously, as soon as he got lapped, he realised that there wasn't really much point continuing anymore. What fascinates me, though, is the fact that Grankvist is able to go so fast on what are relatively old, hard tires. It shows you, first of all, just how good Jan Grankvist is, and secondly, I mean, he's clearly benefiting from the low fuel at this point in the race, and also it was the right decision to go for a one-stop strategy, as we've been saying since the start of the race. But it's been such a long.
I hope we can get an onboard from David Wasserman, because David Wasserman is going for P8. I think it will be quite easy overtake with fresher compounds, a lot more better compound than Giuseppe Saracino. And there he goes for P8. It's David Wasserman, and he gets it. Well done, lad. Oh, and we've got a spinner!
Saracino.
Oh, goes up but doesn't lose any time. Oh, rejoin. Interesting. Oh, and he loses another position. No, he goes around the outside.
No, that's Rozak. He's a lap down, so never mind about him.
Yeah, but Rozak has the speed, so that is quite interesting. So Rozak will now say, I will check out with my new tires. Bye.
Yes. And Frelick's got a chance here on Grankvist because he's within half a second heading onto the back straight. Grankvist sees him coming, moves right over to the right-hand side. Frelick does not move over to try to get the toe. I really thought he would. 4 laps remaining in this race now. We're on lap 50 out of 54. So 5 if you include this one. And Frelick was very twitchy.
And we've got Yuka Pekalalu, who now has got a run on Sandeep Singh. So Yuka Pekalalu for P6. Let's see if Sandeep Singh will defend. No, Yuka Pekalalu, you can't do it in. No, not yet, Yuka Pekka. But yeah, he knocks on Indian doors, and let's see if he can pass on the next lap.
I love this stage of the race. This is the stage of the race where
goes for dive, Yuka Pekka, the touch, and he passes. Ooh,
Great
that was an
move.
interesting, but I think it was a fair move. He clearly showed his intentions of overtaking a bit before the braking zone, so Sandeep would have seen him coming, and yeah, Jukka-Pekka seems to be the faster guy in this stage of the race. Fortunately for him, unfortunately for Sandeep. But let's see if Sandeep can get back on DRS while we go to the leaders. And Luke Mackay is still leading, but the gap is not that big. And
3 seconds with 3 laps to go. I still think Maguire would have to make a mistake for it to change. Here's Chris Butcher on the back of Grankvist and Frelick. Spies the podium. He can see second place, but if he finishes where he is now, he won't even score a podium. He is still so hungry for it, though. This is great stuff. And like I was going to say, this is the point in the race that I love the most, as all of the different strategies converge and they all come together. It's like an accordion. You pull it apart, then you push it back together. That's how strategy works in motor racing, and in this one as well, this is a great example of it, because we've had so many different strategies. They've pretty much all been one-stops. The only drivers who have made two-stop strategies are those who have had issues in this race, such as Patrick Rojak. But up in front, they've all been one-stops. It's just they've been so different. I mean, David Fussman, who's running P8, he made a one-stop, which is a much more traditional style, where he ran late into the race and then bolted on a new set of tyres, whereas the leaders all stopped actually really early. Like, I mean, we knew it was going to be earlier than the halfway point in the race, but it was way earlier than we expected. But the hard tyres have proven to be so good, just as Tom Stevens suggested they might be. Now down into turn 1 we go. They stay in their order, Grankvist, Frelick and Butcher. They've got this lap and then 2 more after this in order to change positions. They've got a little bit of traffic coming up now. There's a lapped car that they're about to pass. That's Christian Pascal running in 16th position. If they can get past him cleanly, then they can continue their fight, but they've got to do it quickly. Time is running out for this fight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
yeah, time is running out because we're nearly there, but we don't know exactly who's going to finish where, because it's still yeah, well, it's still all to play for. Oh, look at Simon Frelick, he is quite close. But where does Christian Pascal, where does he let the others go? Christian Pascal can do Jan Grankvist a huge favor now if he stays driving in front, because then he will give Jan Grankvist a DRS. So, well, will Christian Pascal go, yeah,
down the straight now.
Yeah.
Grankvist gets the slipstream from Pascal and will go through easily peasily. And Pascal also lets Frelick through as well, and Chris Butcher. So they all fly through in single file formation. We have 2 laps to go, including this one. So we've got 1 more after this time around. And that means realistically only really 1 more overtaking opportunity for any of these drivers, which will be on that long back straight next time around, unless someone can pull out something crazy at another point on the circuit. But it's unlikely. Butcher twitches, but keeps it under control. Out of the hairpin they go. And
we had Guzowski who spun, so it was Guzowski who lost the car and still is in P15, so he is up there.
Can't afford to do that again. Christian Pascal is following the leaders through and will be on him like a rash if that continues to happen. Now, heading towards the final lap of the race, they're lining up for what may be the last overtaking opportunity in these 54 laps. Frelick gets a good run on Grankvist, actually. Grankvist had a little bit of a twitch. There may be a chance
look at this.
on the pit straight this last
He will go for it.
around. He goes for it because Grankvist sees him coming.
Around the
Super
outside.
defensive, and Frelick
does it!
through and takes 2nd place on the last lap of the race. Shimon Frelick takes it and does make the corner, so he goes through. There is still a DRS range to come, which is just at the top of this hill now, and then a few more overtaking opportunities, but only for extremely brave drivers. Down the 2nd and last DRS zone of the circuit, and they all stay in that position. Maguire leads, followed by Frelick, Grankvist, and Butcher, and now they take us to the end of this race, Menno.
Yes, and I believe Simracing, if he finishes in P2, which we will see in a couple of seconds, then he will take the championship lead away from Jan Grankvist with that move. So we shall see who will finish where. We're close there. We are waiting for the flag now, I believe, because I think they are already ready with the flag. They've the Finnish flag, which is actually not a Finnish flag, but a Finnish flag.
Good flag, yes.
Yes.
Luke Maguire only has right-handers to go now, and he's going to win for THR here in Portimao. It hasn't been a dominant performance, but it's been enough, and he's won the race here, and that is his second victory of the season. Szymon Frelick just holds on to second place after taking it on the final lap. Jan Grankvist is third, and then Chris Butcher is fourth. Lewis Bickers will be fifth, followed by Jakub Lalu and Sandeep Singh, who are also going to be quite close across the line, although there is no real overtaking opportunity now for Sandeep Singh, unless, well, no, he'd have needed to have been much faster to have slipstreamed into the line. David Wasserman's done a good job in P8, started P12, but made up time on that alternate strategy, and then it'll be Giuseppe Saracino and Oliver Parikyan. Had to get it right at least once in this race, which I did. Mark Weitz will be P11, followed by Pascal Polent, Fabian Schiertzig, Maxi Geisinger, and Mateusz Gazowski, the last points-paying positions. Gazowski has stopped.
He already was lapped, so I believe he already is in.
He's already crossed the line, has he? Okay, so yeah. Gazowski did finish 15th. Christian Pascal missed out, so did Pascal Schmidt, Francesco Leoni, Patrick Rojak, and Tom van der Voort. Francesco Leoni in the 1:17s in the end stopped anyone else from claiming the fastest lap point. And the retirements were Heigo Poom, Dylan Platt, Ben Willis, Michael Ayres, and Moritz Kropp. So that's the end of the race. The gap in the end was 2.2 seconds between Luke Maguire and Szymon Frelick. The closer gap in the end was that for third, actually, just 0.3 of a second between Grankvist and Butcher. And speaking to Grankvist, I think he's going to be our first interview of the day. So as we run through the order one last time, there you see it on your screen. No need to read it out again because we've already said it, but a good day for all of those drivers at the front of the order. Slightly worse day for the drivers you're seeing on your screen now, although everyone from 11th to 15th still scored a few points in this race. And then following those were a few retirements. Let's speak to Jan Grankvist, can we? Because Jan finished third in this race and scored his second podium of the season. Jan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
So a disappointing end to the race, being overtaken on the very last lap, but even so, I mean, it must be a bittersweet feeling because you're still on the podium.
Honestly, I feel rather relieved. I almost lost all of my hope when it was looking as if we could have won this race easily, but then I had a pedal malfunction going into
oh, that's true. I forgot
the second stint, and that put me like 8 seconds back of that group. But honestly, I'm so relieved and surprised that I managed to claw my way all the way back into the podium. It seemed almost impossible.
So what happened with the pedal thing? Do you know what caused it? How you fixed it?
Well, it's these. I don't know if I can say. Well, I mean, they're these Thrustmaster pedals that occasionally like to get stuck on a certain throttle percentage, and the only way to fix that is to unplug the USB cable and plug it back in, and that took me quite a while.
Obviously not long enough to cost you a podium, though, so congratulations for your fantastic recovery drive. Chris Butcher was close to you in the end there as well. We believe you just about lost the championship lead to Szymon Frelick in the end. Are you concerned about that? Still quite a long way to go.
Definitely not. I mean, it's still the first few rounds that we've just done, and to be that far up, I think we're in a very good position still.
Indeed you are. Menno, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I have a few questions of myself. So I guess, I think P3 was still good with the issue you had, Jan. But with this race, now the team has got upgrades. What do you think of the upgrades? Did you feel the difference in performance from this round in comparison with the other rounds, Jan? That's something I want to hear from you.
Well, honestly, I haven't had too much seat time testing the car prior to the upgrades for this track, so I can't really tell like specifically how it's different. But I can say that so far it looks like our race pace has improved quite a lot. Seeing as how I managed to claw my way all the way back into the podium just by racing.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I wanted to know. And I think P3 really good for the championship. Yeah, but like we said, you just lost the championship, lead to Simon Frelick. Well, of course, Luke Maguire is now coming in hot as well. But yeah, I think you're in the fight, and I think at this I'm not sure if you see that the same, but at this stage of the season, I think it's important to stay in it, right? You don't need to lead it as long as you're in it at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Jan, for being here, and maybe next time we can greet you as the winner again.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Bye.
So that was Jan Grankvist, and since we've spoken to third place, let's move up one place and go to second. This was Simon Frelick. Simon, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So you claimed second place on the final lap of the race. That's got to be both relieving and thrilling. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good about second. The top three guys, me, Luke, and Jan, just the pace was crazy. I didn't think I could keep up. So results-wise, I'm happy, but during the race there was a lot of stuff that I was pretty annoyed with. Pretty eventful race for me.
Okay, would you like to talk us through some of those things?
Well, on the first stint on the softs, me and Lewis tried to overcut the Jan and Luke because we got the call that they are in heavy traffic, and I think we just pitted one lap too late because they already got past the traffic, and the softs weren't the greatest tires at that moment. But yeah, after that, Jan had an issue, which was unfortunate for him, and then was just trying to catch up to Luke and just got one driver who hasn't pitted yet. He was pitting on the lap and was defending like crazy. He was defending like for the championship of the series in the last race. We lost like 2 or 3 seconds to Luke there, and yeah, from that it was just trying to manage the tires and trying to get second from that scrap.
Which, of course, you managed in the end. We believe that you're now leading the championship as well. No wins quite yet, but you're getting there. Which of the circuits coming up do you think you have the best shot of getting that maiden victory at?
Probably the street circuits back in Monaco. I love those tracks. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those. I'm usually pretty good on street circuits.
Indeed. Well, we'll see how you go there. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Simon, and good luck in the future rounds.
Thanks.
So that was Simon Frelick, and since I didn't hand over to you at all there, Menno, sorry about that, you can interview our race winner if you like. Let's bring in
yes.
Luke Maguire from THR. Luke, congratulations.
Thank you, Caden.
So Luke, great to see you here again after, you missed the second round and you DNF'd in Australia. How important is this win to stay in the fight?
Very important, yeah, because unlucky with the DNF last round, and I always knew I was going to miss one round. So one DNF and 2 wins isn't too bad, but Yeah, I needed this round to be good just to get back into that fight and close the gap to Jan and Vickers in the championship.
Yeah.
So happy enough, yeah.
Yeah, and how did the race unfold for you? You had quite a lot of battles, but yeah, I believe halfway you drove away from the rest. But I saw in the end of the race they were catching you a little bit. Was that your real pace, or did you have something in reserve in the end if they would have been too close? Can you tell us a bit more about the race in general?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I honestly, I don't think we had much more in reserve because pitting quite early compared to Simon and Chris, they were going to have a tire advantage, but Jan, I think, was using a lot of push to pass to, pass people, but I had a lot of push to pass saved, but pace-wise, not much. The tires, I overheated the tires and wore them in the first stint. I was massively off what I would usually do in practice, so yeah, we need to kind of go for a big undercut. We know the hards can last like nearly 50 laps, even full push. So, yeah, the last kind of 10 laps we were just full push. I didn't have anything in reserve, and I think we kind of got lucky. I think we were not bad in qualifying, but our race setup was probably a little bit slower than the other guys around us. So I think we just got as much as we could out of it.
It's good to hear. Yeah, well, we now have had four rounds, and we now have got a few street tracks coming up, and yeah, well, I believe 3 street tracks now, or semi-street tracks. Which track will suit you the best? Where are you looking forward to? Is there any track in particular?
Yeah, but next is Baku, so I really like Baku, so that's what I'm looking forward to. I actually don't know what the ones are after that, so yeah, but I'm looking forward to Baku anyway.
I believe after we've got Monaco and Montreal, so will be
Monaco will be fun.
Yeah, will be very interesting. So yeah, thanks Luke for at least having your time to chat with us, and yeah, I believe you're now in P3 the championship, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think actually P4, because I believe Lewis Bickers is still ahead of you. But yeah, it's at the top of the championship. There are now 3-4 guys who are quite evenly matched. Maybe Lewis Bickers had a bit of an off day. Maybe I will not say that he still was P5, but how do you see it if you look at your rivals? Do you think your rivals are more or less from the same caliber, or did you see there's a rival that jumps out? If he gets it right, he is my biggest rival at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think everyone up there, like Chris, Jan, Simon, all those guys are just really quick, and you really have to do a lot of laps just to keep in touch with them. So really enjoying the fight, and it could be any of us, so we'll just keep pushing.
Yeah, well, I hope you keep pushing, because it gives a really good racing. So thanks, Caitlin, back to you, Caitlin.
Okay, thank you very much, Luke. Finally, we are going to end off with our winning team. THR won today with Luke Maguire. And of course, the team boss there is former VW Cup racer Toby Davis. Hi, Toby. How are you?
Hi, Caitlin. I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I am doing okay, thanks. And I'm sure that you're doing even better, because you've just seen your drivers finish 1st and 4th today, which is always a nice thing to happen.
Yes, a significant improvement from a double DNF at the last round. Yeah, we did a great job actually for this round. Luke and Chris worked very hard to get to that position with some help from other people as well. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the result, and I think so is Luke, so is Chris. He's much more positive actually, Chris. So yeah, he could have had P2 today. It ended up being P4, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, Luke was impeccable all race. I hardly had to speak to him. He did a really good job.
Indeed. So we've heard how you guys have such a great working environment at Nocturne, the sort of junior team in FS1. Is it a similar thing that carries over to Super League or Superlights as well?
Yeah, it's exactly the same ethos, exactly the same atmosphere. We all treat each other how we want to be treated, and work together as a team, and yeah, there's no
inter-team rivalry as such. Everyone wants the same thing. We all look at the teams championship first as well, and it's a long-term project. You know, Caitlin, we want to be in Super League next season. That's the plan. To do that, we need to be doing very, very well in Superlights, and it's a long season, but we've done well so far, and long may it continue. But yeah, I'm grateful to have such a wonderful group of people in THR and Nocturne. It's great.
Well, you're on the right track for it. That's your second victory of the season. Menno, do you have anything to add for our winning team?
Well, actually, not that much. I think most has been said. So no, actually, nothing to the team. I think the results speak for itself, and I guess getting back to Chris Butcher, I think he's close to get that podium, and I think he will have a few tracks which suits him. So I will not count him out for wins in the future. But now for the rest, I've got nothing to add in that.
Fair enough. Congratulations, Toby, and thanks for the interview.
Thanks, guys. Nice one.
Okie dokie, so that's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much to everyone that we just interviewed. Thank you to all of you for watching along, as well as my co-commentator Menno. It's been very, very fun. And also Tom Stevens for broadcasting today, despite having to come directly from a Superlights test. So thank you, Tom. You've done a very good job. Like I said, that's all we've got time for, but don't miss the main Super League Grand Prix, which is going to be taking place in 2 days' time. So Thursday, starting from 7:30 if you're in the UK. Work that out for whenever your time zone is. And then, of course, in 2 weeks' time, we will be back with Superlights, and that is going to be from Azerbaijan, which, oh heck, wish us luck. Okie dokie, from us, thank you very much, and good night.